It had been months since I had seen Kelechi, and the weight of the past was finally starting to lift. I had rebuilt my life, piece by piece, and with each passing day, I felt more like myself. I was no longer defined by the woman who had been betrayed. I was now the woman who had overcome that betrayal. But even with all the progress, I knew the journey wasn't over. Life had a funny way of testing you, of throwing challenges when you least expected it. And as much as I wanted to forget the past, I knew it would always be a part of me, shaping me, guiding me, reminding me of how far I had come. At work, things were looking up. I had earned the trust of my team, and my promotion had given me more responsibility. I felt like I was finally starting to carve out my own space in the world, not just as a mother or a survivor, but as an individual with dreams of my own. One morning, as I sat at my desk, I received an unexpected email. It was an offer for a new role. An opportunity to manage a team of my own, with better pay and more flexibility. It was everything I had ever wanted, and yet, when I read the email, something felt off. I wasn't sure if I was ready for this kind of responsibility. It was a big leap, one that could change everything for me. But as I stared at the screen, I felt a sense of excitement building inside me. This was my chance to take control of my future, to shape it in a way that was completely mine. I called Kemi that afternoon, needing someone to talk to. "What do you think, Kemi?" I asked, the uncertainty creeping into my voice. "This job, it's everything I've worked for, but it's also a huge step. I'm not sure I'm ready to take that leap." Kemi's response was immediate, her voice warm and encouraging. "Tari, you've come so far. You're not the same woman who was stuck in a broken marriage, afraid to make choices. You're a fighter now. You've rebuilt your life from scratch. This is your moment." Her words stuck with me. She was right. I wasn't the same person I had been. I had faced the worst, and I had survived. I had already overcome more than most people ever would, and I wasn't about to let fear hold me back now. "I'm going for it," I said, my voice steady and sure. "It's time for me to take control of my life, my career, my future." When the first day in my new role arrived, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. I had worked hard for this moment, and now that it was here, I could hardly believe it. I walked into the office, my head held high, ready to show everyone what I was capable of. As I stood in front of my new team, I felt a rush of adrenaline. I was no longer just a woman recovering from heartbreak. I was a leader, a decision maker, and I was going to prove that I deserved this. A few weeks into the new job, something unexpected happened. Samuel, the kind man I had met at the cafe, reached out to me again. He had been on my mind since we last spoke. His presence had been comforting, and I realized that, despite everything, I had begun to open my heart again. One evening, Samuel invited me to dinner. It was simple, a quiet meal at a local restaurant, but it felt like the beginning of something new, something I had thought was lost to me forever. "I'm glad you're doing well," Samuel said, his eyes meeting mine with a sincerity I had missed in Kelechi's gaze. "I've watched you grow, Tari. You've become such a strong woman. I admire that." I smiled, feeling warmth spread through me. "I didn't get here alone," I said, the words carrying the weight of everything I had been through. "But yes, I've learned a lot about myself. And I'm starting to realize that I'm not just someone's wife. I'm me. I have dreams. I have goals." Samuel nodded, his expression soft. "And I'd love to be a part of your journey, if you let me." For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel afraid. I wasn't scared to open up again. I had learned the importance of self-love and independence, and I realized that I didn't need a man to complete me. But, maybe, just maybe, I could open my heart to someone who truly saw me. As I moved through life, I realized that my journey was far from over. Each day brought new challenges, new opportunities, and new lessons. But through it all, I had learned one thing: I was enough. I didn't need anyone to validate my worth. I didn't need Kelechi's apology or anyone's approval. I had found my strength in the darkest of times, and now, I was using that strength to build a life that was entirely my own. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time that day, a small smile on my face. I had done it. I had rebuilt my life, and now, I was ready for whatever came next. In this chapter, Tari takes the next step in embracing her independence, conquering her fears, and moving forward with her career and a new relationship. She fully embraces the woman she's becoming, ready to face the future with strength and confidence. The weeks that followed my promotion were filled with excitement. My career was blossoming, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. The office was buzzing with energy, and I had gained the respect of my colleagues. I wasn't just a survivor anymore, I was a leader. And that feeling, that sense of accomplishment, filled me with pride. But with every new success, there were always new challenges. Balancing my career with motherhood wasn't easy. There were days when I felt stretched thin, when I had to juggle late nights at the office with helping my children with their homework. There were moments when I questioned if I could do it all, if I could be the mother, the employee, the woman I wanted to be, all at once. But every time I felt overwhelmed, I remembered how far I had come. I had rebuilt my life after everything fell apart, and I was stronger because of it. I wasn't going to let anything hold me back now. As my career progressed, so did my relationship with Samuel. We spent more time together, and slowly, I allowed myself to open up to him. He was kind, patient, and genuinely cared for me, but there was something I couldn't shake. A part of me, buried deep inside, was still afraid. I had been burned before. I had been betrayed by the one person I had trusted the most. Now, even with Samuel, I couldn't help but wonder, was I truly ready for this? Was I ready to trust again? One evening, after a quiet dinner at his place, Samuel looked at me with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. "Tari," he said softly, "I've really enjoyed the time we've spent together. I want you to know that I'm here for you. Whatever you need, whenever you need it." I smiled, but inside, a small voice of doubt stirred. I didn't know if I could trust him fully. I didn't know if I could allow myself to love again without the fear of being hurt. "I appreciate that, Samuel," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But I need time. I've been through a lot, and I'm not sure I'm ready for anything too serious just yet." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I'm not in a hurry, Tari. I'm here for the long haul, whenever you're ready." His words should have comforted me, but instead, they left me feeling conflicted. I wanted to trust him. I really did. But the scars of the past were still there, lingering just beneath the surface. And I wasn't sure I was ready to let them go just yet. A few days later, as I was picking up the kids from school, my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen and saw Kelechi's name. My stomach twisted. It had been months since we'd spoken, and now, out of nowhere, he was reaching out to me again. I hesitated before answering. "Tari," Kelechi's voice came through, filled with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "I know you're probably angry with me, and I understand that. But I need to talk to you. There's something I need to tell you." I sat down on the curb, the world around me fading into a blur as I tried to process his words. "What is it, Kelechi?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why are you calling me now?" I don't know how to say this, but I need to let you know that I've realized something," he said, his voice trembling. "Cynthia and it wasn't right. I've made so many mistakes, and I've hurt you in ways I'll never be able to undo. But I need to tell you, Tari, that I still love you. I've always loved you." I was stunned into silence. I had walked away from him. I had rebuilt my life. I had moved on, or at least I thought I had. And now, here he was, telling me he still loved me. My mind raced, emotions crashing over me like waves. I had spent so much time rebuilding myself, learning to live without him. And now, he was asking me to take him back into my life. I can't do this, Kelechi, I finally said, my voice calm but firm. You had your chance. You made your choice, and I've made mine. I'm not the same person I was when I left. I've built a life without you. And I'm okay with that. There was a long silence on the other end, and I could hear Kelechi's heavy breathing. I just wanted you to know, he said quietly, that I'm truly sorry. I will always love you. I know, I said, my voice steady. But that doesn't change anything. I hung up, feeling the weight of his words settle in my chest. And for the first time, I realized something important. His love, his apologies, they didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the life I had built for myself. What mattered was the strength I had found in myself. The call from Kelechi left me with a bittersweet feeling. Part of me had wanted to hear that he regretted everything, that he still loved me. But the other part of me knew that I couldn't go back to that life. I had learned to live without him, and I was better for it. The next day, at work, I received more good news. A project I had been working on for months was finally approved, and I had earned a major promotion. It was everything I had worked for, and I felt a rush of pride and accomplishment. This was my moment. I was no longer defined by my past, by the mistakes of the people around me. I was defining my own future. As I stood in the office, looking out over the city, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. I had walked through fire, and now, I was standing stronger than ever before. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. The morning sun felt different today. It wasn't just another day. It was the day I would take another step forward, fully embracing everything I had become. I had spent so long running from my pain, so long pretending to be someone I wasn't, that I had forgotten what it felt like to truly stand tall in my own skin. But today, I felt it. I felt the power of the woman I had become. The office was abuzz with excitement as we wrapped up the final stages of the big project I had been leading. Everyone was congratulating me, praising my hard work, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride swelling in my chest. This was my moment. I had earned this, and I wasn't going to let anything or anyone take that away from me. As I stood in front of the team, giving a final presentation on the project, I felt a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. I was no longer just a woman recovering from betrayal. I wasn't just a mother trying to make it through the day. I was a leader. I was a woman who had faced the worst and had come out on top. I'm proud of all of you, I said, my voice steady and strong. But this project, this success, it's not just about us as a team. It's about the resilience we've shown, the belief we've had in each other, and the strength we've carried, even when the odds seemed against us. The applause that followed felt like a new beginning. I wasn't just being celebrated for my success. I was being celebrated for who I had become. And for the first time, I truly felt that I was worthy of it all. That evening, after the celebrations were over, I found myself alone in my apartment, looking out the window at the city below. The sky was painted in hues of pink and orange, the fading light casting a serene glow over everything. I sat down on the couch, the quiet of the room surrounding me, and for the first time in months, I allowed myself to truly reflect. I had spent so much time focused on what I had lost, the betrayal, the broken marriage, the life I had dreamed of. But tonight, for the first time, I saw what I had gained. I had built something beautiful from the wreckage. I had become someone stronger, someone who no longer needed validation from anyone but herself. Kelechi had tried to come back into my life, but the truth was, I had already moved on. I had already found my strength, my independence, and I wasn't going to let anyone, least of all him, diminish that. A few days later, Samuel called. We hadn't spoken much since our dinner, but I knew he had been giving me space. He understood my fears, my hesitations. He wasn't pushing me to move faster than I was ready to. I was thinking about you today, Samuel said, his voice warm. I've been giving you space, Tari, because I know how important it is for you to figure things out on your own. But I want you to know that I'm here, whenever you're ready. I smiled softly, feeling the warmth of his words. Thank you, Samuel. I'm not ready for a relationship just yet. But that doesn't mean I'm not ready to start trusting again. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then he spoke again, his voice full of understanding. Take your time. I'll be here, waiting for you. And for the first time in a long time, I realized something important. I didn't need to rush. I didn't need to be afraid. Love would come when I was ready for it, but it wasn't the love that defined me. It was my love for myself, my ability to stand strong, to believe in my worth, that mattered most. The next day, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, looking at the woman who stared back at me. She was different from the woman I had been when Kelechi first left. She was different from the woman who had cried herself to sleep, unsure of who she was without her husband. This woman was stronger. This woman was independent. This woman had found peace, not in the love of another, but in the love of herself. I am enough, I whispered to myself, the words feeling true for the first time in years. And in that moment, I understood something profound. I didn't need anyone to define me. I didn't need a man, a marriage, or any external validation. What I had built was mine. What I had achieved was mine. And it was beautiful. As I looked out the window once more, I realized that the future wasn't something to fear anymore. It wasn't something that happened to me. It was something I created, something I shaped with my own hands. I had fought through the pain, the heartache, and the betrayal. But now, I was standing tall, ready to take on whatever the future held. With the kids by my side, my career on the rise, and the world open before me, I knew that the possibilities were endless. I had come a long way from the woman who had been betrayed. And now, I was the woman who had reclaimed her life. There was no looking back. The road ahead was mine, and I was ready to walk it. Years passed, but the story of how I became who I am today was one I would never forget. I had gone from the woman who thought her world was falling apart to the woman who built a future stronger than anything I could have ever imagined. And I was proud of it. I stood at the window of my apartment, watching the sun rise over the city once again. The days, once filled with pain, now felt like a distant memory. The new day promised more opportunities, more freedom, and more love, not the kind of love that required sacrifice or self-doubt, but the kind of love that started with me. My children were growing up, thriving in a home filled with laughter, stability, and warmth. I had become the mother I always wanted to be. The one who didn't need to rely on anyone else to feel whole. We spent weekends together, going on trips, exploring new places, and creating memories that were all our own. The bond between us was unbreakable. They had seen their mother's pain, but they had also seen her strength. They had seen her rise from the ashes and create a new life, one filled with love, purpose, and empowerment. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And it was ours. At work, I had become more than just a leader. I had become a mentor. I guided new employees, helped them navigate the challenges they faced, and supported them in ways I hadn't been supported in the past. My team respected me not just for my professional achievements, but for my resilience, my ability to face adversity and turn it into something beautiful. Every day, I walked into the office with my head held high. I had earned my place there. I had worked hard, faced challenges, and overcome them. And it felt good to know that I had built a career on my own terms. As for Samuel, we had grown closer over time. Slowly, but surely, I allowed myself to trust him. I had learned that love wasn't about filling a void or trying to fix what was broken. Love was about choosing to be with someone who saw you for who you truly were, someone who respected you, valued you, and wanted nothing more than to support you. We didn't rush into anything. We took our time, allowing the relationship to grow naturally. And when the time was right, we decided to take that next step together. We didn't need to label it or rush it. It was simple, and it felt right. But the most important part. I didn't need Samuel to feel complete. I was already whole. He was simply a beautiful addition to my already full and rich life. Standing here, reflecting on how far I've come, I realized just how much I've grown. I had once been broken, shattered by betrayal, consumed by heartache. But I had found my way back. I had rediscovered the woman I had lost. And I had learned that the most important relationship I would ever have was the one with myself. I didn't need anyone to validate my worth. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was enough. I had learned to be enough on my own. I had learned to love myself fully, without hesitation, without fear. The future stretched out before me like an open road, full of possibilities. And I was ready for whatever came next. As I stood there, watching the city below me, I whispered the words I had never believed when I was younger. I am enough. And in that moment, I truly knew that I was.